Happy Friday and happy Fridays with Fidelman. I'm Cheryl Fidelman, the Conscious Codependents Coach and the founder of the Conscious Codependents Collective. Today's topic on Fridays with Fidelman is Codependents Don't Belong. Please subscribe to my channel. Please leave a comment so I can see what out of my thoughts, theories, and rants today have landed for you, if anything. And all right, here we go. A common experience that a lot of us codependents have is feeling like we don't belong. And that feeling has different behaviors attached to it and different thoughts attached to it. It's a little different for everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean those that actually have like the not belonging experience. And when it comes to not belonging, it can go so deep as to feel like in any scenario we don't belong. For some of us, it's with our family we don't belong, or with a certain type of group of people we don't belong, or with the gender that we're attracted to, I don't belong with them, right? When it comes to intimacy or any form of intimacy, one may feel like when it comes to intimacy, I just don't belong. I don't have facility around it. And the bottom line, sort of the base experience when it comes to not belonging with intimacy or in any sort of social interaction or group of people, I think the bottom line is feeling safe. There's something that triggers our not feeling safe, and so we go to this identity of I just don't belong here. I don't belong with these people. For a lot of it, the origin was not belonging with our family. The first sort of social interaction, the first group of people, individual or group of people. Maybe you just had one parent or guardian, or you had both parents, or you were raised by your grandparents, or you had siblings, or you didn't have siblings. It was our first experience of intimacy and safety. And for a lot of us codependents, we didn't have that experience of intimacy and or safety, and also belonging. Like, who are these people? They're not like me. I can't navigate these relationships. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to be me. I'm not free to be me. Therefore, I don't belong. And the belonging starts for a lot of us in the origin of our socializing with our family. Can you remember an event or series of events, either at home or at school, where you had this experience where you might even be able to say it ingrained in you, I don't belong here. All of a sudden it became like me and these people. And everybody else is of a particular psychology. They're either inferior or superior to me. And I just don't fit in, and there's really nothing that I can do or I can say. And for a lot of us codependents, we develop this need to prove ourselves, a consistent need to prove ourselves because we don't feel like we belong, right? So that's my third tenet in codependence. And my three tenets are the want to be wanted, the need to be needed, and or the need to prove oneself. And so a lot of us kick in this identity. Once we don't feel safe, this proving ourselves gets kicked in because we're trying to prove that we belong, that our identity is valid, that we're actually valid as humans in our existence, because it can go from extreme to I don't feel safe, I don't belong here, I actually don't belong in this world. I'm a different make and model than everybody else, and a make and model that isn't quite a puzzle piece for anything that's happening here. Now, you may not go to that extreme with your identity and your belonging in the world, but some people do. And I did for a very long time, and I still notice myself going there sometimes, where I'm just like, was there another planet that I, like whatever stork was delivering me missed the planet that they were supposed to drop me on and drop me here, right? But it's just not true. We all belong. And I'm not even sure belonging is a real concept. We don't belong or not belong. We just are. When it comes to, I don't like to get too political, but there's a big conversation, right? When it comes to race, when it comes to sexual identity, that we're all one. that we're all one love, we're all made of the same material, that we're all sort of one human heart. I'd also like to add to that race, gender, and different levels of being traumatized, right? Because I think race and gender are more obvious things to point to. Oh, we have different skin color, so it sort of has us reinforce we have different skin color, but we're still all the same. But when it comes to trauma, those hidden parts of ourselves where we feel like we don't belong, but it's not obvious that we feel that way. Because our trauma can be so covert in how we're operating, because we're just trying to be people who belong, right? We're trying to be well-adjusted people, but inside we don't feel that way. So we're trying to occur like we're well-adjusted. We're trying to occur like we belong, which for a lot of us codependents is a lot of work. That work I would put under the umbrella of social anxiety. But when it comes to different levels of traumatic identity, I want to also bring that to the conversation with race and gender and culture, and body image. I want to bring trauma and codependence to that conversation, that we too all belong, to raise the conversation, to be all inclusive of those of us who don't feel like we belong, even though it's not obvious. It might not be obvious what is separating us. And to go to a little bit of a less extreme, this feeling of not belonging may just show up in moments where we go, what I have to say isn't going to belong in this conversation. What I have to say is going to change the energy of what's happening here. So what my idea and thought, what I have to say just isn't going to belong. So we go towards repression and just not saying the thing that we want to say. I also think this not belonging, which is part of what I call our traumatic identity. It's not really you. Like the part of me that feels like I don't belong here, it's not me. That's my traumatic identity. That's the identity that developed in reaction to traumatic events when I was a child. I mean, for me, it was like I felt like we were so different because my mom was so out of her mind, and we were like the one house on the block with all of the overgrown grass and bushes, and there was a tree that was overgrown covering our house because my mom was really paranoid and didn't want people to look in the house. Or she thought people who were walking their dogs were like looking in our house and spying on us. And so there, and my parents were divorced, and it didn't seem like I felt like we were the only people at Temple whose parents were divorced, and there was and I was bullied at school, and there were so many reasons where I just felt like I don't belong, my family doesn't belong. And when it comes to belonging or the desire to belong, it was like, how do you do that? I would see other people that seemed like they were feeling like they belonged. And I was like, how do you even have that feeling? So acceptance, self-acceptance, and feeling accepted by other people is like a foreign feeling to one's nervous system. Some of us, that is. And that's where I think for some of us codependents, we get a little skewed by our intuition. Do I really not belong here? Or is that just me feeling like I don't belong because I don't belong anywhere, right? So people are in jobs where they don't feel like they belong. They're in relationships for years or decades where they feel like, I don't belong in this job, I don't belong in this relationship, but I'm so used to feeling like I don't belong, I'm not actually quite sure if I should be in this job or in this relationship. It messes up our intuition, because the actual feeling of feeling safe and connected and of service and receiving support, like of service, not in an overly proving or people-pleasing way, but there's actually like what feels like an equal give and take, a healthy frequency of relating is so foreign to us that we're like, should I quit this job or should I just stay because I'm so used to feeling like an inequity in most relationships. It's no small task, and it's completely possible because it's what I do for a living, and I firmly believe and witness it consistently in transformation, in the transformation of our nervous system, that feeling of safety that was either scared out of you as a child or it was never really developed in you to begin with. You know, those of us who were not in a safe environment practically from birth, that feeling of safety we never got a chance to develop, or some of us developed it and it got traumatized out of us, that we can return our nervous system back to a regulated state, a feeling of feeling safe, that we're no longer looking for safety outside of us. Like, am I safe here? Who are these people? Right? We're figuring out the people before we decide which identity we're going to have. And on the other side of that, what happens is simply those pieces of our identity that don't feel safe just become our natural quirkiness. And we start to develop relationships where there actually is little cognitive effort, right? It's not anxiety or strategy driven. It's heart driven. And life becomes something to create and invent from passion and not from an awkward proving. Yeah, there's so much that I can say about that. And what I just remembered is, and right now I'm talking about my work, and last week I had put a client testimonial video so you can see what people experience through this transformation that I'm so committed to in my work. And the client testimonial video last week was, I linked it as an unlisted link. Anyway, so my client testimonials are in the box below. I changed it to public. Thank you for listening to my thoughts, theories, and rants around belonging, codependence, and how we experience belonging. Happy healing. Have an awesome weekend, and life is now. Bye.